Today is a really interesting topic and has come to me over the last few days while I've been doing some incredible things for myself. So you might see that the podcast, if anybody's watching on video, looks a little different. My new setup, it's beautiful. I have the most gorgeous picture of my heels from our wedding up behind me, which just I think finesses it so much. And yeah, I just decided I was going to come on today with no real full plan of what was going to come through. But what I want to talk about today is the idea of our intuition, but also our self-belief, because the two go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And you definitely can't tap into your intuition if you don't have self-belief. And for many, I think the wellness industry specifically, as has the mindset industry, tried to convince us that self-belief is like daily affirmations. That self-belief happens by you just telling yourself something over and over again. And sure, you can absolutely repattern the brain with that, but the body needs something different. The body actually needs to achieve. It actually needs to have the evidence behind it and not just what we're telling it. And I don't want to say you have to do the self-belief step first and then your intuition will build, because actually if you start following what you think is your intuition, your self-belief will build out of every time your intuition was right. So they go hand in hand. They can be done either way, right? This isn't about what is the best way to do anything, but it's about understanding how it operates. So I know for a fact over the last few years specifically, there is a lot that my intuition has said that has not made sense. Like the move back to Greystones would not have made sense to anybody else. The call to go back to work wouldn't have made any sense. Even how I decided to go back into the medical system for my surgery wouldn't have made sense. Me saying all of my life that it was on my bell to the morning of the surgery when the doctor asked me where I thought it was and going, my left ovary, doesn't make sense to people. Because everyone who knows me was like, oh, you were so sure it was on your bell. I was, until that moment when she asked me. And every time it's turned out to be right, it builds a self-belief within myself, but only if I'm also consciously looking at it that way. Because the brain has a negativity bias, okay? And that's natural. And the reason is because hundreds of years ago, we needed to be highly aware of our spaces. We needed to see things as a threat to ensure that we could survive. The problem now is that our nervous system hasn't caught up with that, and we see now everything as a threat in the world. And that's really difficult on the system. So for every time we build a self-belief or like we achieve something, if we're not catching the beliefs that come after, the words that come after that belief, we won't repattern the nervous system. So let me give you an example. So for many people who know me or follow me on Instagram, if you don't, you should, I completed my first women mini marathon, which is 10K, for charity this weekend, 9 months after endo surgery. I haven't ran the mini marathon in 11 years. My first 10K before the mini marathon, due to injuries and illness and all the other bits, was the Sunday previous. I did it in 78 minutes the week before. My goal time was 75. Last Sunday when I ran, I did it in 69 minutes. That's insane. Okay? And I was so proud of myself when I got over that line, not only hitting the 75 but under, but how I felt afterwards, how much fun I had had. Especially thinking that like I wanted to shave 3 minutes off, not shave closer to 10, you know? And what's so interesting is that I was so proud of myself. My husband was there to support me, all these different things. I had the intuitive nudge to give it a go again. But within 20, 30, 40 minutes, what I noticed was like this idea of downplaying it, like not celebrating it in terms of like, you know, we'll stop talking about it now, or, you know, I kept wanting to downplay the achievement and being like, oh, well, like it was just 10K, like people do marathons, or it was a good time, but like I could have done X. And I really had to catch that belief within myself, that noise that started going off. And it comes from a place of my younger wounding. Everything I ever did or achieved just was never good enough to certain people in my family. And instead of me getting disappointed by their reaction, I started to just downplay achievements because it felt easier when their reaction or their lack of reaction happened, because it made me feel better, effectively, or it made it easier. And I noticed that pattern coming up. So for me, I then sat with it and was like, but this is a really big achievement. 9 months ago, you were under the knife. You never thought you'd run again in the first place, let alone do 10K. You overachieved your goals. You overshot completely. Like, I was trying to talk myself into reprogramming the belief of like, you deserve to celebrate this. Not only was it enough, it was more than enough. The enough was 75 minutes. You exceeded that. And even in that, that belief of exceeding it taught me that if I really put my all in for something and I align myself and I really feel into it and I let myself have the experience and enjoy the journey, then not only can I get what I want, but I can actually have more. I have capacity for more. So you can see how I'm building up that belief system. And there are days where I'm like, I do feel overwhelmed, or I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be X, Y, and Z, or this isn't going to happen for me. But then I sit back and I look at the patterning of that and I'm like, no, this is not mine. I need to sit back and think of, well, what has happened for me in my life? And again, rebuilding that belief system is so, so important by going back over what's happened. I had the nudge to move to Greystones. That's the decision we've made. I had the nudge to go back into the medical system and advocate for myself. And I told people that I would have surgery by September 2025. There it was. I followed my intuition on where I thought my endo might be. And I was right. She wouldn't have even checked there, she said. She wouldn't have had the notion to pick up the ovary to see that it was attached to the lining of the womb because of the endo if I hadn't said where I thought it was. And there's been so many other examples of this within my life, like the little intuitive nudges that I get. I do it with my husband all the time, where I'll start talking about something, he's like, for fuck's sake, that's a surprise. But I don't necessarily say it to him. I have an inkling of something about to happen. And every time I have this confirmed, I slowly build up the belief within my system of like, this intuitive nudge is telling me something. This intuitive nudge needs to be listened to. And your intuition isn't always loud. And this is the piece that I need. It doesn't just come in and go, do that. That's like, it so does not do that. It's like this little niggle. That you're like, I just have to say this out loud. Like, I just have to go and do this. And it doesn't make sense, but I'm just going to give it a go. I'm just going to give it space. And every time you do that and you confirm to yourself that it was correct, you should be consciously being like, my intuition was on board. I need to learn to listen to that. But actually, even times where you've gone against your intuition, and I've done it, right? It's so interesting. I'm currently working on an app called Starpath, and it's all around astrology. And I know a lot about my astrology, but I've always said to people, I'm like, I am not just body led, but my body is so sensitive to everything. It picks up on everything. And not only that, like, there's been certain niggles that I've had over the while of like what I'm drawn to and why I'm drawn to it. And I didn't put any of this into the app. I literally just gave them my details and was like, you know, tell me stuff about myself. And when I tell you that the niggles that I have within me go so deep, Like, I'm so intuitively led. I'm so aware of myself. And that doesn't just come overnight. And it's not necessarily a big ceremony of find your intuition. It's actual small moves every single day. Because when you've done that in your life, where you've completely switched off your energy, where you've completely switched off your intuition, and you're going with what society wants and what is expected of you, and you're people pleasing, what can happen is you need to retrain the intuition, because one, it is so quiet because you're not listening to it, but two, you don't know what it feels like. And I do know what it feels like to be in alignment with my body and what it's telling me and when, because I've learned over time. And some of the most beautiful pieces and ways to do it is to, if you go out for a walk, I advise turning off your phone and popping, or like not taking your phone with you, or definitely not listening to music. And I want you to go out in your route. And if at any point your body, it might not happen straight away, it could happen days later, but like literally open yourself up to anything. Like literally say to yourself before you leave, I will go anywhere I'm led. Anything can happen. I'm open to it all. And allow your body, even when you get to corners or crossings, and just like take a deep breath. It might take you hours to get somewhere, but give it a go. Like take a, and then just go with the first answer that comes into your head. Left, right, up, down, roundabout, home, down to the beach. Like allow yourself to almost be guided by your body. And so many women turn this off because our intuition at times can't be explained. We cannot explain to people why we're doing something that's so out of the ordinary. And especially when we're in a world of men, and this is not coming at men, I'm so sick of people coming at them, but they're very logical beings. And even when they, like my husband has a great intuitive, is really intuitive. But what I see with his intuition is that he will get an intuitive nudge, and somehow his brain will logically give him the logic, is the only way I can put this. Women are different again. We don't have the logic, and sometimes our intuition is so wild that we can't make sense of it. There's no sense. It's just like, I feel it, I'm just going to do it. And the more you trust in that, the more you can be like, oh my God, look at that self-belief building up slowly. And building my intuition and knowing who I am has been one of the greatest gifts I've ever given, because every time I have it confirmed to me, like, you are in alignment. I don't need astrology. I mean, I found the app and it's great. I don't think I'll keep it. It was just nice to have confirmation of things. But also I do find that we're constantly going outside of ourselves for answers. And whether you're looking, and like, again, when you're starting off, angel cards or tarot cards are really good to learn how to work with your intuition and to channel. And I think sometimes we need the physical thing. But if you constantly have to look at tarot cards, or going to a healer, or going to an energy worker, or a tarot reader, or a human design expert, or astrology readings, if you constantly have to go to those every few weeks to make a decision, or to know where you are in your life, and you can't just surrender into where you're at, you're in your hypermasculine, you're in your control, and you're not listening to your intuition. Because those readers, 9 times out of 10, are only confirming to you what you already deeply know, whether you haven't faced it yet, whether you haven't called on your higher self to ask those questions of yet, whether you've been too afraid to ask yourself the question because you're too terrified of the answer. Like, you already have that power within you. And every time you hand it to somebody else, whether it is an app tool, or it's like a lot of people using Claude and GPT at the moment, but there is going to an energy healer to confirm. And I had all of this the other day. I went to a Bodyworker because there's an ankle injury there, but it's connected to my hip, and the hip is connected to ovary, where the surgery was done. It's all my left side, and I'm very, very aware of it. And I've tried to shift the energy myself. I've tried to allow it to go. And there's just obviously something within me in this moment that's not willing to let go of it, okay? However, sometimes I find that when I get to that point, I do need somebody to come in to help me receive. Okay, so it was all around my left side, which is around receiving and learning to receive and receiving help and receiving support. And I felt very guided to go to this body work. And I've been looking at somatic workers since I came to Greystones. I haven't found anybody I truly wanted to work with. And out of nowhere she popped up, and she had never popped up before. So in my head I was like, I need to lean into this. I need to really, really honor what I'm feeling. So I did. And I went into her and she was like, so like, tell me what you're feeling and what's going on. And I kind of laid it out for her and I was like, this is what's going on. I feel like this is what it might be. I just need somebody to help. And she came to me afterwards and she was like, absolutely. Everything you said was on point. She was like, you're very connected to your body. You know what's going on. It just needed that help to manipulate. And it's like the message I've been getting constantly is like, you need to let it repair. You need to just give it the environment to thrive. It knows what it's doing. I knew this. I knew this already. I did not need her to tell me that. But having the confirmation of you're not crazy is so beautiful. And I understand why women need it for that validation at the beginning. The problem is you're not getting the validation and the confirmation to build a belief system in yourself, but instead you're constantly keep going to other people because you need the answers and you don't believe in the answers you're giving yourself, but you hold them to a higher standard. That's where you're not building your intuition. You're constantly outsourcing it. You're constantly outsourcing your healing. Like I see it with mushrooms and plant medicine and people constantly doing different ceremonies time and time and time again. And I'm like, what are you getting out of it at this point? Because you're clearly not trusting in yourself. And that's what the wound is. The wound is you're not trusting you. You don't trust your body's own intelligence. So instead you're outsourcing it to a plant, to a healer, to a ceremony, to a medicine, whatever it is. And I'm all for using things to help. But where do you draw the line? Where do you decide that it's actually a nervous system issue of your lack of self-belief and your lack of leaning into your nervous system and into your intuition? Because your nervous system is a huge part of your intuition. Again, it's the self-belief pattern. And your nervous system isn't just your fight response. It's so much more than that. Your nervous system is the energetic CPU unit. Like nervous system, it's built off the electric and the kinetic energy within the body. So like that's what's feeding into everything. Like I know my nervous system is so sensitive because I take on so much energy constantly. I'm constantly taking on other people's energies because of who I am, and just that's the nature of what I came here to do. It's one of my biggest gifts, but it's also one of my biggest downfalls because there's times where I can't tell the difference between the two. So what I very much have had to learn to do with that is like intuitively know when something is mine and something is not. And allowing my nervous system to understand what I'm willing to store and what I'm not. It's so much more than just a woo-woo intuition. Your intuition is your nervous system. It's built on your self-belief, and it'll get louder as you build that self-belief because it'll become innate within you to just believe in what you're feeling within yourself. And that is so magical, specifically for women. Being able to understand intuitively what's going on. And like, how do I put this? Your intuition is not telling you to sit on the couch and eat 100 bars of chocolate. Your intuition's not telling you that you don't need consistency in your life and you don't need discipline. Your intuition is not telling you that. Like my body has been exhausted since Sunday. I have not been to the gym. I've been out for walks. I got my bleed. There's been a full moon. I had body work done shortly after. Like I am exhausted and I'm okay with that. However, that's my body actually wanting rest, and that's me listening to it. there is a difference between me being like, okay, my body really needs this today, or waking up one morning and being like, okay, I know I just need to go and do this thing because it's going to be good for my body. My intuition isn't telling me to sit down and eat shite. It's like, it's the same with intuitive eating, like this idea of intuitive eating, but you're constantly eating sugar. Like, the body doesn't work like that, because technically sugar is a foreign substance to the body. So it doesn't actually want that. It wants something else within it. It's just intuitively, the body is smart enough to know that if it's between a sweet potato and a bar of chocolate for the magnesium content, you're going to give it the bar of chocolate quicker than you will the sweet potato. That's where it becomes smart. But your intuition is actually telling you something. It's just not telling you what you think it is. And this you learn over time with leaning into it. But you need to learn to sit and be like, okay, when somebody asks you to make a decision, it's like, without having to logically decide on the answer, it's like maybe coming into your body and giving yourself a moment to make the decision. And like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to make that decision? And it's, rather than agonizing over the logic, over the pros and cons, sometimes just being like, okay, this isn't going to make sense to the person, but I'm going to do it this way. And it's really important that we continue to build that as women, because I do think that online has taught us that our intuition should be really easy to navigate. And it's not, because we switched it off, but also we need to have self-belief in behind ourselves and use our intuition to build self-belief, but also use our experiences to build self-belief, to build our intuition. And I know that could be quite thing to people. The other piece is getting the ego out of the way. And the ego is only there to protect us. And the ego is built up of a wound or wounds or things that have happened to us in our lives that they don't want to go through again. And what that means for most of us is that when you start leaning into your intuition, you have to do the work around your trauma and your beliefs and your wounds, because that will immediately get in the way of your intuition. And this is where my release, regulate, radiate method comes from, because the idea is that you are releasing what no longer serves you. You're re-regulating, so you're recalibrating your nervous system, and then you're radiating from there. And that's in all aspects of life, right? Whether it's your health, your wealth, your intuition, self-belief, self-worth. Like, the method is applicable to all these places, because it's the same idea. We need to release what's underneath and stopping us from moving forward. We need to reprogram the nervous system through doing and showing up and achieving and aligning and feeling joy and leaning in. And then we radiate from there because we are in alignment with ourselves. And my method, there is podcast episodes on it if you want to go back. I do one on, I think on each one, back a while ago. I'll put it in the show notes. But it's really important that we also know that the work is needed to lean into our intuition on a deeper level. So if you've been feeling the niggle of wanting to work with a coach, or you've been feeling the niggle that you want more, the self-development books that you're reading just isn't enough, the energy work that you're getting just isn't enough, there's something missing, and you're getting that niggle, I highly recommend you follow the niggle. The niggle is telling you that you want something more, that you know there's something more out there, because that niggle is what has led me here. And every time I feel that niggle, I'm like, there's something more. There's something. And I don't just mean like a bigger life. I mean, there's something more for me to understand here about myself, about my body, about how I operate, how I show up, who I am. There's always something more. And I truly do believe in that. And even when it comes to leaning into the spiritual space, that bodyworker and I just hit it off. I'm so discerning with my energy. I let nobody at my energy, because I've had people at my energy before I shouldn't. I've seen clients go through it. I'm so discerning, probably to my own detriment at times, because I don't get energy work done enough. But I knew this woman the moment I walked in the door, and I was like, this is so for me. Like, this is such a me person. And it's exactly how I hoped it would be. Um, even in that. And yeah, it's about being discerning too, but like what I'm sorry, losing my train of thought now. But in that discernment, obviously, as I said, I've had to be really good at who I'm leaning into. And you want to allow yourself to really feel into something. So like, just because this full moon ceremony is going on the beach every month doesn't mean you have to go every month. Do you need it every month? Could you look at a few events and allow yourself to be intuitively guided? Can you not go some months? Like, and actually her and I had this conversation at the end, and anyone who's worked with me in person will know this, and actually even if you've worked with me online when we finish our time together, what I find so interesting is that I've had clients come to me and they're like, oh, well, like I get Reiki every 2 weeks. And I'm like, what in God's name is going on with your body if you need Reiki every 2 weeks? Like, and then they wonder why they're traumatized and they can't get on top of things and they're overwhelmed and they're constantly emotional. Or, you know, I've seen it with somatic work or any kind of work. And they're like, I go every 2 weeks or I go every week. And I'm like, why? And they're so taken aback by that why. And I know there's some practitioners out there who are going to come for me, but I genuinely don't believe that you should be going to an energy healer that often. I completely believe in people leaning into their intuition and going when they feel like it. And again, this is people not trusting within themselves. And she's in agreement. And it's funny because I got that permission from her. Not that I needed it, but I had my own permission anyway. But when she was like, that's how I feel, I was like, one, interesting. And two, something came in yesterday and I got like this hit to be like, you need to book in for the week that you've taken off work in July. And I'm like, okay, it's been a while since I've had body work. There's clearly a reason. So we're going to go with it. I might now go and see her in July and might not feel the need to go again for 6 months. It's nothing to do about money, nothing to do about avoidance. It's all down to the fact that I will listen to my intuition and go when I need to and when I feel it. Start living your life as a woman intuitively. And yes, it's not going to make, like, I still don't make every decision from intuition, but sometimes I just need to voice it out and then I need to sit with it and I need to allow it to unfold. But you can make a lot of things from intuition. You know, you can lean into, okay, my body's feeling this today, I wonder why. I also do agree that having consistency in your life as well and discipline helps the intuition to show up more, because one, you are putting yourself into spaces where you're being disciplined and showing up for yourself, and again, you're building that belief system that I've got me, I can look after myself, I deserve this, I am worthy of moving my body, I'm worthy of showing up for myself, I'm worthy of being consistent for, I'm like, you know, it helps to build that belief system. But then because you're being consistent, when you really get that nudge of like, no, I don't want to go today, you know the difference between forcing yourself, not wanting to go because you're in avoidance, and actually feeling intuitively into it. They're so very, very different things. And I think that's really important that we look at that as women, because it is one of our greatest gifts. And I'm leaning more deeply in, like, I got the intuitive nudge to do the women's mini marathon in like January, after going back running, and I was like, I don't know why I need to do it, I just do. And I won't lie to you, I'm not really sure yet as to why, except for building up my belief systems for myself. But there's something in it for me, and I can feel it, and I just don't know what it is yet, and that's okay. I don't need to know. And yeah, it's like, but I did build up the belief system again. It was the same with my surgery. It's been the same with even moving here to Greystones. There was a reason for that. And I thoroughly, thoroughly believe that I am where I'm supposed to be. I know where I'm supposed to be. And it's going to be the same with my business. everything I felt from my business over the last few years is very much coming up in all the astrology readings at the moment, is coming up in the energy for me specifically. And yes, I've had that confirmation from something else, but I already knew it. It was simply just a confirmation when I was having a bad day a few weeks ago and I was having a bit of meltdown. And I just needed that hit of validation of like, you're not wrong, Niamh. You know what's happening. Like, allow yourself to just be in this moment because it's not lasting long. And I do use those tools every so often, but I'm not caught with angel cards every week. And I don't go to everybody under the sun for confirmation or validation. I very much have learned to lean into my own self and be really discerning with how I like to use my energy, and when I feel like I need to speak to somebody about what I'm feeling in terms of my intuition, but overall my intuition and the depth in which I can go. And that's what makes me such a beautiful coach, is because when I get into a room with people, even if there's an agenda, I can't guarantee the agenda is going to go as planned, because I will allow my intuition and my channel to come in and allow you to move through whatever you need to. And that's really important, that as a coach, as a healer, that's what I do. I show up in the room that's there. Sure, I can have an agenda and there's certain things we do need to go through, and there'll be certain modalities that I use, but I will, every single time you get in a room with me, it will be different because of whatever energy shows up that day. That's the beauty of understanding your intuition and your own channel. That's the beauty of having the self-belief to know that you can trust in that. And I have deepened that with my one-to-one work for so long. And I can pull things out of people before they even see it. And they're like, I can't believe you just did that. Or I can feel the niggle in their body. I can feel where it's sitting. I can feel what's going on. And so many people are like, I can't believe you can do this. And I'm like, everyone can do this. And that's why I wanted to do this episode today, because I want people to realize you can do this for yourself. You don't need to go and train on 100 modalities. Like yes, I've learned a lot of modalities over my time, and to get insurance and certificates and all those kind of things are obviously really important in certain ways, and to learn how to hold space. But most of the things that I have actually learned is through my own self. It's through my own body. It's through my own learnings. Like, I despise the fact that Reiki is taught the way that it is, because even the guy who originally channeled Reiki talks about the fact that it's not supposed to be taught on a certificate. It's supposed to be intuitive for the person. And now they've added symbols and all this crap into it. And I'm like, I don't use any of that. I haven't for years and will not. So it's really interesting learning how to lean into yourself. So I just want to share that today. I know it's a very different episode. It's still on the idea of the nervous system, because intuition lives in the nervous system. Your nervous system is what gives you the physical nudge, but also your nervous system being calm and being deep in its own self-belief is what will allow you to move through your intuition and to lean into it deeper. So, it is a big part of it as well. And I do help clients with this. I do help clients with their intuition, and I can bring them through different modalities to help them hone it on a deeper level and understand what their intuition feels like in their body, because again, we're all different, and that gets to be okay. And that's part of the beauty and the magic of it all. And I allow you to feel what it feels like in your body as you move through. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It was a bit of a riff. I have no idea what came through. I just allowed it to channel. And I hope whoever needed to hear what was on this episode gets to hear it. And on that, if you get the niggle to send this to somebody, or if you get the niggle to share it, or if you get the niggle to leave a comment or a 5-star review, I'm going to ask you to please honor that niggle, because that person you've thought of, there's somebody out there in your sphere, whether it's to share it online, to comment on it, whatever it is, there's a reason you had that niggle. So I'm going to ask you to honor it. And hopefully this episode will get to whoever needs to hear it. And I will see you all next week, and I'm sending my love.